All right, are you ready for your miracle? In this episode of the Rodney O Podcast, we continue our journey in our survival guide to 2020 as we read through the Gospel of John. So join me in this episode and continue to share this with other people. We have this series going on. It's incredible. And on this episode of the Rodney O Podcast, I'm going to share some good news and get you prepared to receive a miracle. Welcome to the Rodney O Podcast. So I don't want to repeat the story from part 4 of this series. I mean, I could for this topic, but you can go ahead and tune in to that one if you haven't heard that one yet. But it was something that happened in my life that I would definitely say is rare. It doesn't happen all the time, not a normal occurrence. I mean, it's basically a miracle by my definition, right? I mean, that's kind of how we define a miracle. And so today I want to talk about something that I'm celebrating this week. This week, as I record, I got a chance to celebrate my daughter's first birthday. And for a history of how this came about, I have to go back to, maybe 3 years ago. And we had an announcement to where my wife was expecting. She was pregnant. And it didn't last long. I mean, maybe within the same week, I believe it was. And we found out that she had a miscarriage. So it was kind of devastating. And we had, we each have children. I have a child, and she does as well. But we were kind of trying to have another. And so there's a miscarriage, and devastating, but quick. And then the following year, we had the news again that she was expecting. She was pregnant. And this one lasted for a while. I mean, we had an ultrasound. We saw the baby move and everything, and blood test, and things were looking pretty good. We named him RJ. It's kind of a play on Rodney Jr. because I don't necessarily want a junior and somebody being the same name as me. It's confusing to me. They call my name and me or my son. So RJ was going to be what we came up with. And months into that, again, we saw the ultrasound, we saw the baby kick and move, and then more devastating news as that one, unfortunately, did end in a miscarriage pretty far into the process as we were expecting. So, much to our surprise, another year, another pregnancy. And at this point, we kind of had to declare, this is going to be it. We have to declare it and say, we are expecting this one to make it full term. And even at one point, I remember a late night trip to the hospital. My wife thought for sure, 100%, that this child was not going to make it, that she was gone as well. And we were going to wrap it up and say, okay, I think we're pretty much done. But guess what? Went to the hospital that night, late night, and it was good news. Little complications, but nothing major. And then even as we made it all the way and as we were just getting happier and happier, the longer this went on, it became to the point of the night where we had induced pregnancy scheduled. And there was some complications to where they said we have to go and do a C-section now. And even at that point, I knew that, hey, we're going to declare this. This is going to happen. And sure enough, shortly after midnight, I was able to hold for the first time my beautiful daughter, and she made it. And again, we celebrated 1 year. And I never, ever get tired of holding this miracle in my arms. I did it for her first several hours of her life, and I was able to do it as she woke up and as she went to sleep on her 1 year birthday. And I do it over and over again because I'll never forget this miracle. That is Riley Lorraine Owens. And that's what we're talking about today on the Rodney O Podcast. Stay tuned. So today on the Rodney O Podcast, we are continuing the series that I titled Survival Guide to 2020, John's Instruction Manual. And I titled today's topic as Get Your Miracle. Get your miracle. And as you know, each week I will be teaching through the Gospel of John, not to be confused with the books of John, like 1 John, 2 John, and 3 John. And today we're going to read through the Gospel of John, chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. And again, in this series, my hope is that those who are unfamiliar with the Bible can kind of get a good intro into it. And I believe the book of John, the Gospel of John, is really a good start for those people. And for those of you who are more proficient in the Bible, can just kind of get a refresher. And hopefully, if they like it, like what they hear, they can pass it on. As I say each week, share it with somebody, let somebody know that they need to hear it. And the reason why I titled this series and wanted to do this series of Survival Guide 2020 is because we are at a crisis in 2020, right? With COVID, just had another situation with racial tension. And we have Congress and presidents and elections coming up. Political fighting is going on. And then we've had fires. I live in California. We were very close to being evacuated. A lot of things going on. And so on and on. It seems like we just need a survival guide to 2020 and just need to know what can we do this year that is just going crazy, right? And so with all of this going on, there's bright side. I want to give good news. And this good news just needs for you to do your part. And as we dive into this, you know, when we look at life, right, at one time or another during your life, you're going to go to a point where you just need something to happen in your favor. You're going to need something good to happen. I mean, as you go through life, you're just going to sit there and say, you know what, I need something miraculous to happen in my life because it's just at the point where I just need something. And again, if you look at this year, the year 2020, we can see that a lot of people and a lot of businesses need a miracle to help them stay open, right? To keep people's jobs. Many people need help to pay the bills. I mean, maybe this year you may know somebody who is sick, who maybe has COVID, who maybe need healing. And maybe with everything going on in this world today, you just need inner peace because of all the anxiety and depression. Those things are up as we're going through this year. And because of all this negative, many of us, we may give up hope, right? We may just give up hope and not think there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And maybe we open up to say, okay, there is a light to this tunnel. I've heard Rodney's podcast in the first 4 parts, and I'm going to start following the light. And I began following the light. But I still feel as if there's nothing that's going to change, that things will just stay the same. And I mean, let's face it. I mean, people just don't believe in these miraculous things happening anymore. I mean, those of you who do read and kind of hear about the stories of the Bible, right? You kind of read and you hear all these crazy miracles in the Bible and you think that doesn't happen anymore, or that God just doesn't exist. Those things were just made up. It never happened in the first place. And it's because we gave up hope and stopped believing. And there are many things that causes this. I mean, sometimes we put our hope and trust into darkness, into things that aren't true or into things that aren't good. The falsehood of all these things make us unhappy, right? And we think it's going to make us happy and fulfilled, but it does not. And sometimes we ignore the signs or discredit the stories that we hear of real life miracles happening. Somebody has a real life miracle happen and you say, I don't know. Or you explain it away or just don't believe it. Because I would say that a lot of people are just too angry to allow a miracle to happen. We get angry at God. And again, my philosophy is that people who say that God doesn't exist are just angry at God. And if you really dive down deep into the reasons why they don't believe God exists, is because they said if he does exist, he would do A, B, C, D. So again, in turn, they are angry with God and they close their minds and hearts to him. So of course, the miracle is not going to happen in their life. Because that causes us to refuse to let the light, the creator, our God-given gifts be used. And this is a must for a miracle to happen. You need that for it to happen. And I will say today, you need to ask and expect that miracle. Let me repeat that. You need to ask and expect that miracle to happen. You know, we can expect a miracle in 2020 and even beyond because the Creator has a tremendous love for us. So much love that he steps in and assists us, even in the midst of our own drama and our own mess and the things that we caused ourselves to grow wrong in our lives. He's willing to go there and help us. We just need to ask boldly and then just wait for instruction. Because one of the things about a miracle happening, and one of the things about this light, this creator, this God, is he uses us. You see, we are to take part in this miracle. And this isn't a message, of those of you guys who know what the quote unquote prosperity gospel is, this is not that, because that's a message that says that, hey, as long as you do good and do everything right, you can get stuff, right? If you're good and you pray and you're faithful, you get stuff. That's not what this is. This is about a message of how the Creator loves us and he sets his provisions for us. See, the story about a miracle and the story about getting miracles is about God providing me with everything I need to go and get my own miracle, because I play a part in it. And it's not about actions and good deeds. It's about actually doing something. And this will make more sense as we dive into John, the Gospel of John, chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. And I'll read that right now. It says, on the third day, a wedding took place in Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied. "My hour has not yet come." And his mom said to his servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to his servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he took them. "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did this, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After this, he went down to Capernaum, and his mother and brothers and his disciples. There they stood for a few days. And so this is a story, if I break this down, if you have Jesus here at this wedding, right? And his family's there. And it was pretty much probably a family wedding. And back in those days with their culture and tradition, a wedding would last about 7 days. I mean, this was a feast and a party. And the thing about it is, you need to be prepared to serve your guests, because if you didn't, talk about having a reputation that was negative. It was not good if this were to happen. And so he's there, and Jesus' mother, Mary, was around, and somehow she had got wind that the groom would be in trouble because they were going to run out of wine. They have to keep this party going, man. And so she says, "I know my son can do things. I know who my son is. And let me go to him and say, they need your help. You know, Uncle Tommy or cousin Ed, needs your help because he's about to run out of wine." And so Jesus is there, and he says, he says a normal greeting, which is woman. It's not negative. He says, "Hey, what does this have to do with me?" He says, "My time to reveal who I am," which is on the cross, has not come yet. Like, it's not my time to reveal who I am yet. This isn't my time to do my stuff. I'm here at a wedding. And he's saying, this is not my problem, which is true. And it's so amazing how, when I said earlier about having a miracle happen and Jesus, and that God loves us, the Creator loves us so much that he's going to get involved in our mess, the mess we created. That's good news, that we can create our own drama and mess that has nothing to do with him. But he's going to intervene anyway, and that's what he does because he was asked. And so it's very interesting, because even after he says, what does that have to do with me? His mom said to the servants, "Hey, whatever he told you to do, go ahead and do." It's kind of like, did you hear me? This has nothing to do with me. But so he says again, because of his love for us, and because he says, you know what, even though this isn't my mess, I'm going to go help out. He goes and tells them, "Hey, fill these jars of water," and then takes them out and give to the master. Now, this is incredible, because I don't know at what point that water turned, but I do know that with everything that requires a miracle, it also requires faith. You have to have faith. And so as they poured the water, they had to actually do what he said. They couldn't say like, you know what, pour water in here, whatever. I'm not doing that. That's silly. Why would I pour water into these jars and then serve water? That's just dumb. That happens to us sometimes, right? Which is why I say you have to declare your miracle and take a part in it. We have to have that faith to take a part in it. And that's why, just real quick, let's go over my faith mindset course that I designed and that I created along with my business partner, Soren. That is something that if you're interested in, drop me a message in the podcast, reply to this, go to my social media pages and platforms. I have a link in the podcast description, and let's leave the word faith, and then I'll be able to get back to you and let you know about it. This is why I say and I discuss, even in my podcast, the faith mindset, why you need a faith mindset for life, for success. You need to have faith and do what you need to do with your God-given gift in order to make it. But going back to this, that's what they did. They took a part in it. They just didn't say, this is crazy, we're going to do this. And the thing about it is, when you do things with the Creator using you, it is so much better than a normal thing. Because as you see, this wine that they tasted, this wine that was much later in the week was better than the first wine. And so it was custom because people would drink more. And as the week and as the party wore on and on and on, they couldn't tell of the cheaper stuff because they were just getting drunk off too much wine. But he's saying, hey, I tasted this. And this is the good stuff. You save the good stuff for last. And it's because, again, we are better with the Creator using us and our God-given gift than we are without Him. And it shows here. And so what I'm telling you is this. God still does miracles today. But we become conditioned to things of miracles being extraordinary, contrary to creation, to where something only the Creator can do, where He can stop gravity and things for a moment, which He can do. But that's what we look for sometimes when we look for miracles. But when we ask, we need to be prepared to do our part to make the miracle happen. And they happen every day. And when we ask for the miraculous, the things that are contrary to creation and extraordinary, a lot of times we're doing it to test. If you exist, God, do this, right? No, He's saying this is going to happen. You can take part in your miracle and make it happen because I equipped you to do so. And so if you look at your past experiences or my past experiences, anybody's past experiences, many of us can see at a time in our lives, there was one time when we rolled up our sleeves and we did the work and we made the impossible happen. Whether it's a body transformation, whether it's an attitude change, a new skill learned, an income goal being met, right? You rolled up your sleeves and did the work, and then it happened. When we sit there and we decide to do the work, we're going to get it. Because a lot of times, we never ask with the expectation to receive, right? We kind of just say like, hey, let me ask, and I don't think it will happen, but I'll ask anyway because they tell me to do so, and that doesn't happen. We'll see. I knew this wouldn't happen. We need to expect that it's going to receive, but we need to expect to do the work as well. You see, because we can do our part. We can use our God-given gifts. And the reason why we have these gifts, I said over and over again, is to help God bring the world back to good, which will also bring us the miracles that we ask for. Because the receiving is in the doing, right? Is having the faith to go ahead and do it. Because during all of our lives, we will reach a point where we need the Creator to work a miracle. And a lot of times it's because of our own mess, right? Our own doing. We did something wrong. But His love is so great that He provides a way for us to work our miracle. You see, when we're following the light and being used by the light, our miracle that we are working out by using our God-given gift is better than any of our work that we can do on our own. Again, it's that faith mindset that you need for life. Just like the wine was the best ever, our work will be the best ever. Our miracle will be the best ever. So what you want to do now? You want to fully give your life to the Creator and believe in the Creator. Because then at that point, you can ask for your miracle and expect it to happen. But then, thirdly, be prepared to be used by him so that the miracle in your life can happen. Well, please feel free to dialogue with me. You can go to my YouTube channel and check out my videos there because I am living what I speak. Please be sure to subscribe to that channel. The link is in the podcast description, or you can simply go to YouTube and search Rodney O. And remember this, I want to inspire, encourage, and motivate all of you guys as you navigate this journey that we call life. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one.